Hi, it's Deborah from Laurie's Country Cottage. Welcome to How Tuesday. Won't you join me as I show you how to make these beautiful no-sew holiday stars or snowflakes with a quick and easy method using Fusible web. Let's talk about materials first. When you're making this holiday star, you have the option of making it with two different fabrics that are compatible, and yet each one highlights the aspect of the other. So I recommend you get fabric that is full color, such as this gold, and then a rich color for the contrasting one. A print that's too far apart or too light just isn't going to present the best contrast or the best look for your star. I chose this gold metallic and then a gold print on a white background, and I think they offer a pretty good contrast. When you make your choice of what's going to be going into your star, you can think about the fact that your star actually can be opposite colors on either side, or you can make this star so that the same color shows on both sides. Besides your fabric, you will need some fusible material. I'm using Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. I really like the way this particular product fuses my two pieces together and gives them a really sturdy character so that the stars themselves don't crush. The Heat and Bond Ultra Hold is a 17-inch width fabric, so in order to be able to make the best use of my textile, I make these stars in 9-inch, 6-inch, and 3-inch size. And that makes the best use of my Ultra Bond, my Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. Your first step is to cut out two pieces of your fabric. I'm choosing, in this case, one lame and one of the print. You could do any combination you want. 2 pieces of the fabric and 2 pieces of the Heat and Bond. Ultimately, you are going to have to make 12 strips to make the star go together. So we want those strips to be very precisely cut and very clearly cut. So for my large star, I cut, intending to use a 9-inch square, I cut 9 1/4-inch squares to give myself a little bit of trimming space after I'd fused them. For my 6-inch pieces, I cut a 6 1/4 or 6 1/2-inch square, and for my 3-inch star, my 3-inch pieces, I cut 3 1/2-inch. It just gives you that little bit of leeway to keep consistent with your cutting. So you will have cut 2 fabric pieces, you will have cut 2 Heat and Bond pieces, and the next task is to apply the Heat and Bond to the back side of your fabric piece. Now, this particular product is very, very plasticky, and right in the instructions it says that you need a medium to low heat, and you only need to glide the iron on that fabric, on that paper surface on the back of it, for 1 to 2 seconds in order for that to adhere to your textile. So I'm just going to head over to the iron, and I'm going to attach my piece of Heat and Bond, shiny side down, to the wrong side of my fabric. I have put an applique pressing sheet down on my woolly felted pressing mat just to protect it from that little bit of extra plastic adhesive that might come out through underneath this paper. I'm lining my piece of Ultra Hold Heat and Bond to the back side of my fabric piece. My iron is set on a medium to low setting, and the instructions say to just glide the iron on the back of the fabric piece for 1 to 2 seconds. So I'm just gliding my iron over, gliding my iron this way, using this pressing mat to protect any fusible from affecting my woolly pressing mat. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Shiny side or glue side down to the back side of your fabric. And I'm just gliding my iron, giving it 1 to 2 seconds worth of time. You will notice that it slightly curls, and that's fine. It tells you that it has adhered to the fabric. And I can see just in this little corner here, I just need another second of heat. All right, we'll go back to the cutting table, and I'll show you what happens next. We're back at the cutting table now, and we're ready to peel off the paper piece and lay our pieces wrong sides together. So make sure you let the heat and bond cool completely, and as you peel that paper away, you'll notice that shiny plastic surface tells you that the adhesive has adhered to the back side of the fabric and is no longer sticking to the paper. I'm going to do the same thing for my other piece of fabric. And now I'm ready to lay those two plastic pieces together. They'll have a little bit of stickiness, so that will help you in the positioning and carrying it to the ironing board. It's repositionable until I heat it down again. So, as I said before, I've cut my 6-inch pieces at 6 1/4 or 6 1/2. So if I'm not perfect around the edge here, no big deal. I'm going to get those to lay together, and I'm going to bring them to my ironing board and again use that 1 to 2 seconds to just adhere those together. All right, we're back at the ironing table. I've again got my applique pressing sheet there to protect my woolly felted mat, and I am again going to just quickly give a 1 to 2 second slow shot across my piece, turn it over. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then I'm just going to let it cool. I've got my 9 1/2-inch pieces prepared as well, so they can be ironed. And I'm coming right out to the edge, knowing that even if my glue hasn't come right out perfectly to the edge, I'm going to be trimming this off to the correct size anyways. So we're back at the cutting table. I'm going to be wanting for my 6-inch square size, I'm going to want a 6-inch square. I did cut this one at 6 1/2, so now I'm just going to clean up my piece to become an actual 6-inch square. I've got plenty of room to go around my ruler. This will ensure when I cut off all of these little outer pieces, it will ensure that I have glue right to the edge of both of my fabric pieces, and that's going to be well adhered together. So I'm just going to do all 4 sides of my piece and cut it off at 6 inches. Now here's a little hint that I used when I was making mine. I cut 3 sides to a perfect 6-inch width and depth, but I left this one in case I'm not as perfectly accurate cutting my 1/2-inch strips as I need to be. I'll have a little bit of leeway on this side, so I just have to remember this is my side where I've got that extra bit of length. I'm now ready to cut across my perfect 6-inch square at 1/2-inch intervals. I'm going to be very slow and careful because I want this 6-inch piece to yield me a perfect set of 12 1/2-inch pieces. So I'm just going to continue cutting until I've gotten 12 across there. And by the time I've reached my 12 inches, I'll just have this little bit of extra piece there that will come off, and that was my grace piece in case I was slightly inaccurate in my cutting. So what that looks like is this. I'll have all of these strips. You can see that the heat and bond has really glued them together well, so make sure you use a layer on each piece of textile, and you're ready to start weaving the star together. So we're back with our 12 perfectly cut 1/2-inch strips that were taken from the 6-inch square, and you're ready to start weaving them together to create the structure of the star. So first thing, just divide your pieces into 2 groups of 6. One group will become one side of the star, and the other group will become the other side of the star. Begin by taking one strip and just finding the halfway point by folding it and finding a little crease, and do the same thing with a second piece. So I'm going to make my print side first, and then I'm going to make the gold side. I'm going to match that halfway point to this halfway point in a perfect T or perfect cross. So this is where a cutting mat lends you a little bit of help. It will help you line up and keep things at a pretty good 90-degree angle. So I'm just going to use those lines on the cutting mat to help me keep things relatively straight. Once I've matched up those center points, I'm going to have a hot glue gun ready to go, and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue in there and glue it down. We're going to create a set of 3 strips going across by weaving these on. So since this strip is underneath my one going horizontally, these 2 vertical strips that I'm going to lay side by side need to lay on top of my horizontal strip. So I'm setting myself up a little weaving pattern here with these 6 strips. I like to leave just a hair's breadth in between the strips, and now that we've matched the centers of the first 2, I can just use these lengths as a general guideline to allow me to glue these other pieces on. So I'm lining them up pretty well, and I cannot explain why this one is longer, but we'll get there. A little dab of glue underneath to hold them in place. And then just turn it. And now I'm ready to weave these 2 in place. I need this one that has come over this strand. I need this one to the right to go over, under, over, so that I'm creating a woven pattern. So I'm going to line that one up, and I'm going to line that one up. Again, I want to leave just a little bit of space in between them. If you're eventually going to use these as decorations, you like a little bit of light to be able to shine through. So points of contact now all need to be glued. So I'll just do a quick dab of glue underneath them, lifting them, holding them in place as best I can. And glue, glue, glue. All right, I'm going to do the same thing to the second set of strands, and I'll be right back with both already glued and ready to go. We're ready to construct the separate sides of our star now, and we're ready to glue the corners together. So you created a T-shaped structure. We're now going to turn that into an X. And this corner here on our star is going to be created by joining the 2 outer edges of the X. We're going to take this one, lift it up so that the opposite color or the color on the back is visible, and this one, and lift it up. Match those 2 corners so that they create that perfect point on your star. So a little dab of glue and match them up and make your way to the other 3 corners. So turn it into an X, take these outside edges and match them up. On this particular piece, I had the gold side up. So for my other piece now, I will have the white side up. Turn it into an X, match up your corners, and you're gluing so that the opposite color side is visible, and you're matching those as a square corner. You're just about done now. All that's left is to put these pieces together. I like my stars to have one side with the one color showing on the one side, and in this case, the white is showing on this side, and then this side has the gold framed by the white. I think it just creates a nice aesthetic effect. So we need to begin by putting these stars together so that they will join up. These pieces that are the cross pieces that are left are going to slip into these openings, and you'll see that we're laying the stars so that it's kind of counterintuitive. We need the points to sort of lay into each other. So I'm going to lay one star down with these rounded edges coming upward, and I'm going to hold the other star face downward with the rounded edges going downward. But I'm not putting the rounds together, I'm putting a rounded edge onto one of these flat pieces, and I'm going to set it inside like that. Then you're just going to take each one of those individual strands and pop them into that little loop you previously made. Flip it over and do the same thing. Pop the strand into the little loop. Now these strands will stick out of the loop and we will be trimming them off later. But for now, you're just getting everything sort of centered and set up how you want it. And now we're going to actually glue these together. So with the star sort of holding its position the way it should look, I'm going to begin by gluing these four corners. I'm putting my glue under here so that when I center this piece on there, it lays nice and flat across here with no pressure to bend the star. These little edges will get trimmed off in a minute. So same thing on this side. I'm going to put my glue under here. I'm going to glue it on there so it's centered and just keep making my way around the star. Oops. Flip it and do the same thing for the other pieces. When you're done, you'll have all 8 corners glued, and all that's left is to trim these corners off. So with just a sharp pair of scissors and tracing or using the edge of the previous little loop as your guide, just cut those pieces that stick out off your star, and it will clean it up. When you're done, you can just clear away the little glue hairs, and that is a star that's ready to go. If you want to put it on the top of a tree, this opening will allow you to put it on the top of a tree, and the 9-inch size will be really perfect for that. Or you can make even tinier ones out of 1/4-inch strips and hang them as tree decorations. This would make a great star or snowflake to hang in a window. The last thing you might want to do is put a hanger on it. I like my hangers to let the star hang flat against a window. So inside one of these loops, I just come up from behind with my rayon cord and then across the top of this band and out the other side. And then I can just tie an overhand knot, however big I want that loop to be. And if you don't want the knot to show, just slide it and it will disappear in behind your pieces. And the piece will be ready to hang. So a quick review of sizes and measurements for a 9-inch square that you're going to start off cutting 9 1/4 or 9 1/2. You're going to cut your strips 3/4 of an inch wide from a perfectly cut 9-inch square. For the 6-inch square in the end, you're going to cut a 6.5 or 6 1/4 inch square, and you're going to cut your strips a 1/2 inch wide. And for a 3-inch piece, you're going to cut your original squares 3 1/4 to 3.5 inches, but you're going to cut your strips a perfect 1/4 inch. And that's going to create 3 sizes for your star. I hope you will try this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.